Welcome to this video about reciprocal trig functions. What we're going to be looking at today are secant, cosecant, and cotangent. These are the reciprocal trig functions because they are defined as the reciprocal of the three main trig functions, namely cosine, sine, and tangent. So secant is defined as being 1 over cosine, resulting the ratio is also the reciprocal of the original ratio for cosine. In this case, hypotenuse over adjacent rather than adjacent over hypotenuse. The same is true about the other true reciprocal trig functions. I'm going to work a few examples so you have something to go by, see how this works. So let's start with secant. So we start with secant at, say, 30 degrees. All right? Well, secant at 30 degrees, well, that's really talking about cosine at 30 degrees, except we want the reciprocal of that value. That's supposed to be a square, degree sign, not a square there. Sorry about that. Well, 1 over cosine, that's 1 over the x-coordinate at cosine of 30 degrees. Well, what's the x-coordinate at 30 degrees? Well, that's root 3 over 2. So since we're dividing by a fraction, we're going to retake the reciprocal of the original, the denominator there. That really is with 2 over root 3, which is simply 2 over root 3. But we can't leave that root down there in the denominator. So what we need to do is rationalize it. So we're going to take 2 over root 3 times root 3 over root 3. And if you're wondering why am I doing that, well, it's because I can't leave the root in the denominator. So the nice little neat process I can do here to cancel out those roots is I can multiply it by itself. And then you're squaring it, which eliminates the square root. So I'm just going to multiply by the identical piece there for the denominators, which means you cancel out the roots and the denominator just becomes 3. And then you have 2 on the root of 3 as your numerator. And there we go. To give you another one here, let's think about cosecant. And let's go ahead and do 30 degrees of that one too, just so you have one of reference on what both of these look like. Well, that's really asking you to find 1 over sine of 30 degrees. So 1 over sine of 30 degrees, well, that's 1 over the y-coordinate at 30 degrees. The y-coordinate at 30 degrees is 1/2. So I'm dividing by a fraction again, so it's 1 times 2 over 1, which is simply 2. And it really doesn't get any more difficult than this. It's the exact same process. So if we wanted to do tangent, we'd still do the exact same process, rather cotangent. And that's the same process we would go through for all the values. We just look at the reciprocal idea and just think about this idea of always putting the original trig function in the numerator. So you end up taking the reciprocal value as you go through the process. Thank you very much.